You're not hearing me. You're not hearing me. See, the problem is you trying to talk with your shit. You don't know nothing instead of listening. Huh?
I'm listening.
Okay? No. I get $40,000, man, and I dare motherfucker to talk. You went to college. You didn't talk when the professor was talking.
Okay, I apologize.
Because you bring... No, you don't apologize to me. I knew that when you come in here. I let you in because you'd have said New York Times, I'd have let you in. I've said anybody come in here. And normally I don't do these interviews. I do the bullshit shit you want to hear and let you leave.
Okay, I'm listening. I'm listening. You got me tuned in. I'm tuned in.
Okay. So what was the question you just said?
You are now watching Black News Matter. Black News Matter.
The number of civilian-owned guns around the world is estimated at 650 million, and 270 million of those handguns, rifles, shotguns, machine guns, and even improvised craft guns belong to the people of the United States. There are 90 guns per 100 Americans, giving the country the honor of the highest gun ownership rate in the world. Did you know which country comes in second as far as guns per person? Yemen. With a population of 23 million, there are 55 firearms per 100 Yemenis. But that's still almost half as many guns as Americans, even though Yemen is a war-torn country with extreme poverty and political instability. And while Yemen packs the second highest amount of heat per person, India has the second largest number of privately owned guns, with an estimated 46 million weapons, followed by China, Germany, and Pakistan. What about gun violence? The United States is the fifth in the world for numbers of homicides by guns, behind Venezuela, Mexico, Colombia, and Brazil. On the other end of the spectrum, Japan has one of the strictest gun laws in the world and also one of the lowest murder rates. In 2008, there were only 11 gun-related homicides. Switzerland, however, ranks high in gun ownership and low in violent crime, about 0.5 homicides per 100,000 people. That's less than 1%. When compared to the rest of the world, the U.S. stands alone for high gun ownership and high gun violence, despite being a well-off country. What's the missing link? Is it a lack of gun laws, or is it something else?
You are now watching Black News.
It's just like when you got some coffee that's too black, which means it's too strong. What you do, you integrate it with cream. You make it weak. If you pour too much cream in, you won't even know you ever had coffee. It used to be hot, it becomes cool. It used to be strong, it becomes weak. It used to wake you up, now it'll put you to sleep. They joined it. They didn't integrate it, they infiltrated it. They joined it, became a part of it, took it over. And as they took it over, it lost its militancy. They ceased to be angry. They ceased to be hot. They ceased to be uncompromising. A circus. Nothing but a circus with clowns and all. And I saw it on television. With clowns leading, white clowns and black clowns. I know you don't like what I'm saying, but I'm going to tell you anyway. No, it was a sellout. It was a takeover. They controlled it so tight, they told those Negroes what time to hit town, how to come, where to stop, what sign to carry, what song to sing, what speech they could make and what speech they couldn't make, and then told them to get out of town by sundown. And every one of those Toms were out of town by sundown. Now I know you don't like my saying this, but I can back it up. It was a circus, a performance. It beat anything Hollywood could ever do. The performance of the year. Jay-Z. And those other three devils should get a Academy Award for the best actors because they acted like they really loved Negroes and fooled a whole lot of Negroes.
You are now watching Black News Matter. Black News Matter.
Meet with these people. How do the conversations usually go? Well, you know, a Klansman or Klanswoman is not stamped out of a standard cookie cutter. They come from all walks of life. So it goes the whole gamut. But I'll give you an example of a conversation. A Klansman was riding with me in my car. We were talking, I'm driving, he's over here in the passenger seat. And we got on the topic of crime, and he said, well, you know, all black people have a gene within them that makes them violent. I said, what are you talking about? And he says, well, who's doing all the drive-bys and carjackings in Southeast Washington, D.C.? I said, okay, it's black people, but that's what predominantly lives there. I said, who's doing all the crime in Bangor, Maine? White people, because that's what predominantly lives there. I said, you know, you're not even considering the demographics. He said, oh, no. You all have a gene and it has nothing to do with demographics. So then I thought about it. And I said, well, you know what? All white people have a gene within them that makes them a serial killer. He's like, what are you talking about? I said, name me 3 black serial killers. He could not, listen, this man could not name one. I said, John Wayne Gacy, Henry Lee Lucas, Ted Bundy, Charles Manson, Jeffrey Dahmer, Albert DeSalvo, the Boston Strangler, David Berkowitz, Son of Sam, on and on and on. I said, son, you're a serial killer. He said, Daryl, I've never killed anybody. I said, just like you told me, your gene is latent, hasn't come out yet. And he said, well, that's kind of stupid. I said, well, it's no more stupid for me to say that about you than what you said about me. And he got very quiet, and eventually he changed the subject. Within 5 months, he quit the Ku Klux Klan, and today I own his robe and hood.
Now watching Black News Now.
But what they don't know is that if they would have let the Panthers continue to do what they was going to do, it wouldn't have been near one of them riots. It wouldn't be half as much as this crime. You know what I'm saying? But they didn't. Instead of letting us when we wanted to. You know what I'm saying? Like how America could go cross country, save another motherfucker's culture, but they'll stay here and fuck our culture off all goddamn day long. You know what I'm saying? Everybody and their mama, you asked me to tell you what they did. The Panthers, what they plan was to do was for black people to do for themselves. And they felt like not hate white people, but just be more black. If we all just stop mixed racing, stop interracial marrying and all of that bullshit, just stay amongst our own families, we'll promote some kind of black love between man and woman. We'll have more kids. And we'll have more kids, we'll have a bigger population, you know what I'm saying? And if we own the businesses for our populations, then we'll have more money. If we have money, then we have power. If we have power, then we have land. If we have land, then we are people. You know what I'm saying? Then we, you know what I'm saying, got some kind of power in this country. But so they saw that COINTELPRO, the counterintelligence program set up by J. Edgar Hoover, saw that the Panthers were doing a damn good job because all over the country they got this buzz, similar to how Thug Life is.
Drug life?
Thug Life.
Thug life.
Yeah. So now the Panthers got everybody talking about the Panthers and we want to be free and we want decent housing and talking good, not just bitch hole, you know, straight good. And they start infiltrating. Now, why would they do this to a young black organization? And why would you not think they would do it to me? They infiltrated them, meaning they got people to say that they were Panthers, they joined the Panthers, and they would start the ruckus. Like, say, let's go shoot up the Botanical Gardens or some shit. You know what I'm saying? And do it in the name of the Panthers, but it's a cop. You know what I'm saying? And everybody think it's the Panthers because he's dressed like a Panther. You know what I'm saying? And he's screaming the Panthers, but he's a cop. He's been sent by the FBI. They got papers to document this shit. You know what I'm saying? And straight up, where Fred Hampton is laying in his bed, they hire his bodyguard to give them a floor plan of this man's house. A floor plan of this man's house. This is what they did to Saddam Hussein. A floor plan of this motherfucker's house. The police is doing this. Had the police raid the shit in the middle of the night. Nobody asked shit, just shoot. This man died in his sleep. You know what I'm saying? And they knew where his bed was. You gonna tell me that the police could not get that man? You think I can't read? You know what I'm saying? They asked me why I write this shit. You think I can't read? You think I don't know what went down?
You are now watching Black News Matter. Black News Matter.
And Oklahoma is a unique space in terms of the number of African-American towns that were established. Some suggest upwards of 50 African-American towns between 1924 and 1928. Reverend S.S. Jones was going around documenting this sort of self-determined, vibrant African-American communities. You see the African-American educators, doctors, lawyers, landowners, oil barons, and I think that's what's so remarkable about this footage. To think that individuals, how many years out of slavery, are now owning oil wells that are producing 2,000 barrels a day. Is that not the ultimate American dream? Is that not the ultimate American story? It flies in the face of what I think some people consider part of African American history and culture. And I think that that was one of the things that Oklahoma and what S.S. Jones is really kind of showing, is that African American history and culture is not a monolith. And in a way, it became kind of like a marketing tool to encourage individuals to migrate, to move there, that this is a place where you can live, you can thrive, and peacefully reside. There were still palpable racial tensions. There are lynchings, there's Jim Crow, segregation, there's all of these things, and you still have an African American community, or many communities, that really speak to the fortitude and resilience of Black people in this country.
You're not hearing me. You're not hearing me. See, the problem is you trying to talk with your shit, you don't know nothing, instead of listening.
Today I am announcing that I will be filing articles of impeachment against Donald Trump upon my return to Congress. The president's abject failure of leadership and showing an inability to have moral rectitude and be the leader of this nation in times of crisis with his remarks in Charlottesville, I had no choice but to introduce these articles of impeachment. For one, I'm Jewish, and for two, I represent an African American district. Ku Klux Klan and Nazis' purpose is to kill, terrorize, and oppose in every way fashionable African Americans, Jews, and other minorities. It's the antithesis of American interest and values. It's abhorrent to me, and it was the last step. It shows the president not only is possibly guilty of obstruction of justice with Mr. Comey and violations of the Emoluments Clause with actions at the Trump Tower and the Trump Hotel and taking money from foreigners, but unable to lead us against foreign and domestic enemies. There's also a test to the presidency, of a moral test, that you're supposed to be the leader of the people and bring the people together in times of crisis. Charlottesville was one of the great episodes and crises we've had in our country, when he can't even recognize our domestic foes, which are white supremacists, Nazis, and Klansmen, and equates them with Americans who went out to oppose, demonstrate against anti-American values. He doesn't understand America. He doesn't understand his job as president. He is morally, ethically, and intellectually incapable of being president of the United States of America. He needs to resign.